Okay, so a slightly different series of videos. This one goes out to all of the suffering surfers. We have had a bit of a lull the last couple of weeks. So this is going to be a little series of things that you can do to make sure that when we finally get some good waves again, that you will be in the best possible shape. Well, at least you'll be able to catch some waves. So looking at shoulder strength, stability, mobility, and longevity. So I think a lot of surfers like to think about how they can stay surfing for as long as possible. It's a repetitive movement, obviously paddling in an extended position puts some stress through your neck and your back and your shoulders. So what you can do now to make sure you're still enjoying surfing in 10 plus years to come. I've got a couple of 3 kilo weights. Anything you have will be fine. Just limit yourself with we'll modify each exercise depending on what equipment you have. So you can use bands, you can use some weights, heavier, lighter, anything you have where you can make work. They're not going to be all that complicated. So, first thing, it's not that exciting, but we'll get into it. There's some shrugs. So you're lifting your shoulders up as high as you can and then lowering back down again. So just up and then back down. You're not rolling the shoulders, you're not doing anything crazy. And importantly, you're keeping your arms straight. People start to lift the weights up. Just shoulders up to your ears and then back down again. So we're starting with this one because it's really good for feedback. You will feel when you start to fatigue through the muscles on top of your shoulder and start to use the ones on the sides of your neck. When that happens, you rest. That's all we need. Fatigue in the muscles on top of your shoulders. When your neck gets involved, have a timeout, move on to the next one. So up and then back down again. So these are just called shrugs, pretty simple. All right, next one. You lean forward, you bend your knees, bends the knees, bends the hips, so you're nice and flat through your back. Weights are hanging down. Turn your knuckles away from you and leading with your little fingers up to about shoulder height or in line with your body. You can keep slightly soft elbows if you would like to. And just slowly and controlled, you're not dropping them back down together. Just up to about horizontal and then back down again. So we're trying to limit each exercise to about 10 reps. If you can do more than that, just slow down the movement. Back to these shrugs. So lifting and lowering. So when you're paddling and you're reaching overhead, and then you apply load when you catch the water, it's a bit of an awkward shoulder position. So you need to be able to elevate your shoulder blades, your shoulders, really well. It's a skill. So we're just trying to teach our shoulders how they can elevate those scaps, those shoulder blades, instead of just trying to lift and then pinch. All right, back onto these reverse flies. So what you're doing here is you're trying to coordinate again those scaps, those shoulder blades. Instead of doing upper traps like we did with the shrugs, now we're doing our middle and our lower traps, but also working now with the back of our shoulders, so the posterior delts. These are our longevity muscles. They're the ones that are going to help hold our shoulder, the ball, in a nice position for longer. Do a couple more of these. One more round. I was going to do 2, but let's do 3. I'll get my shoulders in too. I'm optimistic of a little grovel today, but who knows? So just slowly up and down. Slowly up, control the way down. You might not do as many the third round, That's okay, all we want is fatigue. Remember to control the way back down again. All right, so we're really going to pick on not just elevation, but then we get a bit of rotation, upward rotation through the shoulder blades. Coordinating shoulder blade movement is really challenging. So if you have an injury, people fall into depression on that one side, that shoulder blade's dropped, and then it hurts to do just about any movement. So we want to make sure we can clear that movement really well by sitting up in a nice position and then allowing the rotation of our shoulder blade as you're reaching overhead. So if you were to do one exercise, people do ask, what's the one thing? I'd do this. So weights in front of you, elbows bent to 90 degrees, like so. You're raising your weights up and out to the side. If you like, you can do this one in a tall, kneeling position. So you push your hips forward and you're raising the weights out to the side and controlling the way back in again. So now we're getting that elevation of our shoulders, the upward rotation of our shoulder blades, which is really, really hard. It's a challenging movement to coordinate. And then the actual rotation of our shoulder itself. So, one exercise, rules them all. Being in the tall kneeling position makes you feel, if you're really tight through your lats, which if you've been doing a bit of paddling, you undoubtedly will be, because every time you go and take the weights away from your body, you'll start to stick your ribs up because your lats are dragging them forward. So we're going to work on our lats in that mobility session. So that's how we do our lateral raises. Next one, push-ups. No tough guy, not on the ground. We're going to use our kitchen bench, dining table, whatever is nearby, as long as your kitchen bench has some brakes on. So thumbs are going to be pretty much together, pointing away from each other, and you're lowering your body down towards your elbows. So close grip push-ups. Really close grip, small range, but our focus is not on building our pecs. I know summer is coming. You can do other exercises for that. We're trying to add stability to the back of our shoulders. So you can choose an appropriate height to make these nice and challenging. For the next round. Okay, back to our lateral raises. So weights are in front of you, elbows are bent to 90 degrees, and you're lifting up and out and controlling the way back down again. I think it was last year, went to the International Surf Medicine Conference, and they were talking about the different injuries that people sustain in the surf. If you're a pro, they suffer from a lot of ankle instability injuries from landing aerials. Luckily, I'm not at risk of that. The greatest risk in surfing is your own surfboard. So again, other things you can do to control that. What I would like from these exercises is to look after the long-term health and longevity of our shoulders. So this is just going to be 15 minutes. The things you can do, very accessible. So remember, trying to keep your elbows as close together as you can during this one. Last round, lateral raises. The one greatest shoulder exercise for surfers. Up and out. So if you've had any recurrent injuries through surfing, come and see one of us. We'd love to look after you. Okay, I'm not getting very many in that last set. Last round of our push-ups. Nice planky position from your heels to your shoulders, thumbs close together, elbows close together on the way down, avoiding that flare of the elbows. Trying to get a little bit of a burn in the back of your shoulders as opposed to those mighty pecs. And I'm done. So we'll also do another couple of videos looking at supporting the surfer's shoulder. Any questions, get in touch.